Welcome to Singularity Animations, where we dive deep into the mysteries of history, the future, and the impossible worlds that may exist just beyond our imagination. Today, we're descending into one of the greatest legends of all time, Atlantis. But instead of asking, did Atlantis exist? We're going to ask something far more exciting. What would it actually feel like to live there? Imagine waking up in a city where crystal towers rise from the ocean floor, where streets shimmer with the glow of bioluminescent plants, and where technology is so advanced that it feels more like magic than science. You open your window not to the sound of cars, but to the low hum of waves moving through engineered canals that power the entire city. This is life in Atlantis. The first thing you'd notice about Atlantis is its architecture. Forget concrete blocks and glass towers. The Atlanteans designed their world with an almost organic intelligence. Buildings weren't built on nature, they were grown with nature. Coral-like spires spiraled into the sky. Crystal domes refracted sunlight into rainbow streams, and massive aqueducts channeled seawater into energy. Atlantean engineers were said to have mastered something we can only dream of: harmony between technology and environment. Every structure was alive, self-repairing, self-powering, breathing like the ocean itself. Living here, you wouldn't just see your city as home, you'd feel like you were part of a living organism, a symphony of stone, crystal, and water. So, what's a normal day in Atlantis? You'd wake up in a crystal-edged home, walls glowing softly with stored energy harvested from the tides overnight. There's no flicking a light switcher. Room senses your presence and brightens with a warm luminescence, like sunlight, trapped in crystal veins. Your breakfast, not factory-farmed food, but ocean-grown delicacies. Atlanteans cultivated entire gardens under the sea spirals of kelp, engineered for nutrition, glowing fruits from aquatic trees, and fish raised not in cages, but in symbiotic ecosystems that thrived alongside them. You wouldn't drive to work, you'd glide. Atlanteans used anti-gravity transport powered by what ancient myths called orichalcum, a mysterious metal that conducted not just electricity, but energy itself. Imagine vehicles that hover silently, weaving between towers, or even personal pods that carry you along magnetic waterways. But here's the real twist. For Atlanteans, work wasn't about survival. Basic needs were already solved by their technology. Instead, work was about advancement of knowledge, of art, of the human spirit. One of the most incredible parts of living in Atlantis would be its energy source. Legends describe Atlantis as being powered by a crystal at its heart, a giant energy core, harnessing the forces of the Earth itself. Some say it was a fusion of magnetic energy, solar power, and something else, something beyond our science. If you were there, you'd witness skyscraper-sized crystals pulsing with light, feeding power into every home, every vehicle, every machine. The city itself would hum like a living circuit, glowing softly at night under the sea. No pollution, no fossil fuels, no endless smoke in the sky. Just clean, renewable, almost magical energy that made the city shine like a jewel beneath the waves. To live in Atlantis was to live in a society where knowledge was sacred. Libraries weren't dusty halls of books. They were living archives, crystals, encoded with holographic information, instantly accessible to anyone. You wouldn't flip pages. You'd step into knowledge. Imagine walking into a library and being surrounded by 3D projections of history, science, and philosophy, swirling around you like stars in a galaxy. Education wasn't forced memorization, it was exploration. Children in Atlantis didn't sit at desks, they journeyed through interactive learning spheres, where simulations brought the universe alive before their eyes. And then there was medicine. Atlanteans were said to have mastered the art of vibrational healing using frequencies and sound to repair the body at the cellular level. Imagine lying in a chamber of sound where vibrations align your cells, removing illness without a single pill. Living here, you wouldn't fear disease the way we do today. Life expectancy could easily stretch past 120 years. With health and vitality maintained by science, we still can't explain. But Atlantis wasn't just science, it was also deeply spiritual. Atlanteans believed in the balance of energies, the body, the mind, and the universe, all connected through unseen threads. Their temples weren't just places of worship, but centers of science and philosophy combined. Walking into an Atlantean temple would feel like entering a cathedral of light. Crystals refracted beams into dazzling patterns. Priests and scientists worked side by side, and chants resonated with the very frequency of the earth. For an Atlantean, spirituality wasn't separate from science, it was science. They understood forces like magnetism, frequency, and consciousness in ways we are only beginning to rediscover. Now imagine society itself. No endless wars for resources. No politics driven by greed. Atlantis had abundance, with unlimited clean energy, advanced farming, and deep respect for the earth. Scarcity was almost non-existent. This allowed their government to be less about control and more about guidance. Councils of philosophers, scientists, and spiritual leaders worked together to keep balance not just for the city, but for the world. If you lived here, you'd feel a constant sense of stability, like your society was working with you, not against you. Let's step outside for a moment. At street level, you'd walk across marble streets that shimmered under flowing water channels. Gardens bloomed with flowers you've never seen. Engineered hybrids glowing faintly at night, their color shifting with the tides. Above, airships glided silently, reflecting the sun like silver whales in the sky. Below, canals carried glowing fish that doubled as both art and food supply. This city was on just function lit. It was beautiful. Everywhere you turned, there was symmetry, light, and an overwhelming sense of wonder. Living here wouldn't just feel like being in a city. It would feel like living inside a dream. But not everything was perfect. To live in Atlantis also meant living with a sense of fragility. The Atlanteans were powerful, too powerful. Legends say their thirst for knowledge and control began to tip the balance. They experimented with weapons that could shake the Earth itself, technologies that could manipulate weather, even devices that could tap into the very core of the planet. And somewhere along the way, they went too far. Living in Atlantis, you might wake up one morning to trembling ground beneath your feet, to whispers in the air of strange experiments gone wrong. The ocean, once their ally, began to turn against them. The great crystal at the heart of the city, whence a beacon of power may, had become unstable. Energy turned volatile. Nature itself retaliated. And then, the end came. Imagine standing on your balcony, watching the horizon crack with storms unlike anything you've ever seen. Lightning tearing across the sky, tidal waves rising higher than the towers. The streets that once glowed with beauty, now flooded with chaos. People rushing, machines failing, the great energy crystals pulsing out of control. You'd feel the terrifying realization. This utopia, this perfect world, was slipping into the sea. And then, silence. A city swallowed whole. But here's the real mystery. If you lived in Atlantis, even in its final moments, you'd know one thing. Knowledge never truly dies. Maybe survivors carried fragments of Atlantean wisdom across the world to Egypt, to Mesoamerica, to Greece. Maybe their echoes still live on in myths of gods, in ancient temples, in unexplained technologies scattered through history. To live in Atlantis wasn't just to live in a city, it was to live in a dream of humanity. Its greatest potential, our ability to merge science with nature, knowledge with spirituality, abundance with beauty. And even if it sank, maybe, just maybe, Atlantis never truly left us. Maybe it waits, not under the ocean, but inside us, waiting for us to build it again. So, what does it feel like to live in Atlantis? It feels like living in the future while surrounded by the wisdom of the past. It feels like harmony, wonder, and limitless possibility. But it also feels like a warning of what happens when brilliance is consumed by ambition. Atlantis is more than a city. It's a mirror of humanity itself. If we learn from it, maybe one day we won't just imagine living there. We'll build it.